This is so sketch. Testing. It looks okay. I'm gonna be so mad if it's not working. I think it is. Okay. I forgot I have lights in here. I need my lights. Lights, camera, action. Lights, camera, bitch, smile. Should have had that for the thumb. These are gonna make me hot. It is hot. It's quite hot. Summer. But we're going to chat a bit because I wanted to talk about some astrology. And I also wanted to go live because I got canceled. I'm just kidding. No, I got canceled upon. So I have some time today to be Augustine. This is apple juice, by the way, which I have to be a little careful because this will make me have to go to the bathroom. So I'm going to be cash. But I typically do, like on my day off, which is Wednesday, I do like a little bit of a cleanse where I drink juice and milk and stuff and kind of flushes everything out because it helps me throughout the rest of the week. So I'm doing that. And then this is the one day that I rest. Like I actually don't go to the gym and I'm not constantly walking and stuff. So I try to chill today and try to de-poof, like de-swell. And then I weigh in tomorrow. So that's my little schedule because I don't weigh in every day anymore. But yeah, how is it going, you guys? I'm just kind of sharing my ritual. I do that kind of on Wednesdays. I have my apple juice up here. We're going to sip it away like a bottle of wine. I've been going to Aldi. That's how you know you're struggling financially. No, I'm just that's so bad. But anyways, I don't even know what to expect with this live. I'm going to make this chat bigger in case anyone comes in. But if not, then I will talk just for myself. I don't care because I know it's not usual for me to be live right now. So I'm going to go ahead and notify my papes just in case. Because, you know, you never know who's here or who'll be around. So anyways, how are you guys going? I have to talk about astrology. We're in Virgo season. So all the hot air is leaving. Didn't I tell you it would leave? All of it is going. All of it went in me too. It was gone. Like my little girly pop moment. It crashed pretty badly. Hello, Lisa. It crashed really bad when I got back. I think you're first. I only see first. So, but yeah, so I, getting back from LA, it was like really a harsh reality check. It was not cute. It very much felt like a Cinderella moment where it's like, oh my gosh, the clock just struck midnight and I'm no longer bejeweled, we'll just say. I was like, ooh, this is really harsh. And I think I'm going to be okay this month financially. I hope so. Don't we love that it's a question? I love that. But, you know, as you know, and as I know, and as we all know, rent is coming. And I am not quite there yet, but we're within a shot of hope. So it's not like that bad. But I had to pay my car. I had to pay something for my car, and it was just disgusting. And then our utilities are really high. It's just horrible. It's always horrible in August. But it's also the time when work starts to pick up. Like the best time for my work is it's really this part of the year. So it's August all the way through December. It kind of gets better and better all the way up until the new year. And then there's like a huge contraction in January, where it's really bad usually, especially compared to December where it's like popping. So this is typically when I have to like get into my nose to the grindstone phase, which this one has been weird as we've had this Mercury retrograde. I still had a lot of time to reflect, which is odd. And today it's ending. I think this Mercury retro will end during this live stream, which is interesting. If it hasn't already, it might have just ended actually. It might have literally ended right when I went live, basically, or like right when I was going live. I think it is over. But as you guys know, it's in Leo. It's ugly, for me anyways. I don't think it's a great thing when Mercury's retro in your sign. I've always had a harsh experience with it, pretty much. I'm gonna check. I think it is done. But yeah, I've usually had a harsh experience when it's in my sign. This year I had my persona non grata moment, which I don't know. It's saying it's still retro. I don't know. Anyways, I didn't like it. I have Mercury retro in my area of career and reputation, which is not super nice. I will say though, I'm trying to utilize everything. So I'm trying to level things up. Basically, every time these retrogrades come, and this year, the retrogrades for me, they're all in like the financial and health houses and career and jobs and stuff like that. So I'm trying to level it up with these energies. And I did in April. I did. I came out of the April one with better health and I started doing YouTube full time. And now this one, I'm like, okay, reputation, maybe it'll be better. But I think it's still going to be touch and go for a minute. As I did a tarot reading a long time ago about the different seasons, and the autumn is difficult still. It's still kind of albatrossy for me. So I don't think this is going to end fast. I think it's going to go on for a while. But I think it has to do with probably being a bit more successful. And then with that comes hate and stuff like that, and haters and that kind of thing. So I think that that's probably why. But yeah, I'm pretty committed. So I definitely, I'm coming through August in a better place, I guess, kind of. August was tough. It's been tough. It's technically not over, but I think all the worst parts are over. But yeah, I got to talk about Virgo. We got to talk about Virgo season. And I want to talk about the astrology. We're going into eclipse season really soon. The eclipse season, I believe it starts on September 5th. I'm just double checking. It's about 2 weeks before the eclipse. Yeah, September 5th. So I think on the 4th, going into the 5th, that night, there's a new moon in Virgo. That will kick off the eclipse season. And it lasts until 2 weeks after the Libra eclipse in October. So what does that mean? It means that things can change. Things are really, really subject to change. And I think this time it will be really dramatic because for the past few eclipse seasons, we've had Jupiter in Taurus, which is very stabilizing and it doesn't allow change whatsoever. Whereas like when we had Jupiter in Aries and we had eclipses during that time, there was major change, especially for like in your personal life. For me personally, it was very activating as I had a car accident at that time. And obviously, you know, a certain thing ended that I don't really want to get into, but that was a big significant shift for me at that time. The rest of the ones, like with Jupiter and Taurus, it was really internal. You know, it had to do with an identity crisis in October of last year, like really realizing there was an identity crisis. It had to do with getting over someone and also getting interested in someone else, you know. So that was a big shift, but nothing really changed in, you know, post-October. And then in April, it was more about my long-term plan shifting. It was about goals shifting, things changing as a result of better health for me. But these are all internal things. My external life didn't change much after the April eclipses because that Jupiter in Taurus really held things together, held things still. There was too much change, or there couldn't be too much change. When we go into this one, we have Jupiter in Gemini. That means change is really easy. It means that things feel like they're moving really fast and things move quicker in Jupiter and Gemini time. And so we have these eclipses. There's one in Pisces, which is also mutable. So I think there could be a lot of change with that first Pisces eclipse, which is September 19th. And then we have one in Libra, which I believe will be one of the last ones in Libra, if not the last one. But yeah, we are changing nodes pretty soon. There's a lot of stuff happening. We're going into like the next paradigm, as the South Node is going to be going into Virgo, North Node is going to be going into Pisces. So things are going to shift a lot next year. Hello, Bot. Hello, Bot. Cheerio. So I'm talking about Astrobot. But the point is, with this eclipse season, there will be actual tangible change. There will be real life external shifts, which brings interesting things. It's a little chaotic. This chaotic summer is going to end, though. So I talked a lot about how this summer is the out of control summer, which is really difficult for people who are a little bit more controlling. And it's not a matter of judgment. This isn't a matter of like hating on anybody. I have some controlling tendencies. Other people have controlling tendencies. But the more controlling you are, the more difficult it was. And I had to really work on that and kind of let go in order to survive this summer. Because for me, how it manifested in my life was this summer was like the ultimate ED trigger summer, where pretty much every single trigger I've ever had, I feel like I've gone through a tour of triggers. It started with my car having a misfire. And that was right after Jupiter went into Gemini. So that was still actually in spring. But it was right after that. Then it was like, ugh. And then it just kept going and going and going all throughout the summer. So it's like, oh my gosh, my car, that's a massive trigger. Then it's, oh my gosh, my finances, that's a massive trigger. Then it's, oh my gosh, dynamics with my crush, or, does he like me? Does he not? Like these kinds of questions. Oh my gosh, da, 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 da. Like, especially because I had made some mistakes with him, which I was really sorry about, and all that. And it's like, you can't control that. So that freaked me out. Then it's like the political situation and what happened in July with the assassination attempt. It made the world feel out of control. It was like a political out of control situation that was hugely triggering for me. And all of the aspects, going on at the time, that was scary. Then it was, I became persona non grata, and I can't, yes, Bot, typically yes. I can't control how people see me. I can't control how people take what I say. That's a huge trigger. I reach a point of visibility. Then people are noticing me all the time. They're talking to me more. They're wanting things from me or whatever, and I'm not used to it. That's a trigger, because you can't control how other people talk to you or how other people see you or take you. And really, I think what it has ended up as now is I feel like I think I'm getting to the very deepest core of my ED past. And again, there's no eating behavior connected, but I've started to get into more like body stuff, unfortunately, where I feel sometimes like I can't control how my body looks and stuff, and things are changing and it freaks me out. I've had some body dysmorphic episodes. I had to be very careful one day because I was really getting bad. And then I've experienced some anxieties in Virgo season around moments of honestly self-hatred and self-loathing, and the desire to hurt myself. And I don't mean that in like a, you know, you know what I'm saying. I don't mean it in that way. It's just, I think it's that desire to feel pain to control. And I think a lot of my ED past, it was a form of hurting myself because it's bad, it's wrong, and you just do it to feel the pain of doing it. Like, it's hard to explain. But I mean, I feel like people can kind of understand if they've been there. So I've been dealing with that. So I feel like it's gotten down to the very, very core of what this is, and where this came from. Because it's also like, you can't necessarily control your own feelings all the time or your own self-loathing. I'm having like an anti-hero moment in the mirror. It's cringe, it's horrifying. But I think with the hormonal fluctuations and weight loss and getting back on the deficit and these kind of things, I trended towards negativity. And while I'm getting control over a lot of other stuff, there is not as much to be upset about. So you start being upset about yourself, because I felt like I was in a decent position, where I've kind of accepted all these other aspects where I don't have control. And then I am getting to like this final core thing, which is like a desire to self-sabotage or a desire to hurt yourself. And I'm not going to do it, obviously, because that's not it. And duh. I mean, I may have the thoughts and feelings or whatever, but I'm not going to do anything about it. And I think that aspect of knowing I'm not going to sabotage myself in any way, it makes everything feel out of control because I don't know how things are going to go. So it's scary, but I think this is probably one of the ending points of the, it's probably one of the ending points of the summer, as I think my body changing or feeling out of control as my body changes, because I am very strict on the deficit and I'm doing really well in regard to like my appetite is much better, my metabolism's better. We're in the equinox time technically now, which is an easier period for losing weight within hypothyroidism, basically. And I just feel a lot better. I feel like my moods are stabilizing, and it's more of like a low-grade depression that just lasts the whole time, which I think is better for me because it's not as cyclical. Because throughout the rest of my journey, it's been extremely cyclical, where it's like I've been high up and then low lows and high and low and high and low. Now I think it's just staying kind of midline, like kind of low or like a little bit low. And then it just kind of continues. And I can kind of deal with that better. And I think that would be easier. It's easier for other people to understand or deal with, like, because I'm really sick of that fluctuation within the hormone flux. So I think it's getting more to like a middling as I am transitioning to obesity. I'm at the very end of morbid obesity and things change. And we're going into this eclipse season, which I talked about. So eclipse season is major. I think one of the biggest things in regard to eclipse season is just that it will change. There will be real change. And that's part of it. I think I'm going to get out of morbid obesity throughout this eclipse season. And that's a major turning point. That's something I've dealt with for at least 15 years. To be fair, I had never gotten out of super morbid obesity and stayed out, let alone continue. And I think the next few eclipse seasons, these steps can be taken. Oh my gosh. No, Lisa, I'm not a Fearless stan. I'm not. Although I do like that song and I do like Fearless. I actually like Fearless. She got me with that one, which I think she only got me with that one because it was in the movie. Um, but yeah, we're gonna have real change. Maybe I'll use that lyric during the eclipse season. But the more powerful eclipse is in Libra. I think the one in Pisces is not as strong, kind of. But I think my prediction is it will bring in a time of likely market volatility. So there might be a lot of boom and bust within the stock market where things tank, come back up, tank, come back up, tank. I think that over time, though, it'll be going down. So we already had the first one in the summer. It was in July. Libra eclipse, I'm not sure, but it's on the 2nd, I believe, which is probably like around 9 degrees, like around there. It's in that zone. That one's the more powerful one for sure. But the Pisces one, I think it brings in a market instability. As far as like overall predictions, oh, no problem. But as far as overall predictions, really, Virgo season, I think for 2024 standards, September is probably one of the better months. And what does that mean? It means it's not that great, but by the craziness of this year, it's better than typical. I think what we'll see is Virgo season this year, it brings a lot of negativity. It's like it's very much a bad mood or sour mood. Oh, wow, nice. It's very sour. And with the Saturn square Jupiter, it's creating a difficult aspect to all the planets going through Libra. So it's kind of like there's a lot of negativity. So you're going to see a lot of people that are very negative in general. But there's also humility and it's more realistic. So there is kind of like a more realistic take where people are kind of like flattened. It's like flattening, especially after the Leo season, which was so much hot air and it was kind of fake. There were some aspects to it that were fake. Virgo comes in and it brings a reality check with a dark twist. It's kind of like a reality, a couple shades darker. That's how I would describe it. So it's good to be humble in Virgo season this year. We still have South Node in Libra. It's really good to be humble throughout the rest of the year because people do not like it if you're bragging and stuff. Which for me, I don't brag that much. I felt like I needed to in some ways in the Leo season because I was so frustrated when I was like getting kind of soft canceled. It really pissed me off, basically. I don't know how else to say it. And then I had a lot of estrogen at the time. So I was just kind of like really on edge. Whereas now it's a little bit different. Like I don't feel like fighting as much. So I just don't, it's like, it just doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the negativity of Virgo is like, I can't control how you're going to see me. So I'm not even going to try. So it actually kind of makes you, it's like you can kind of lean into it a bit. Because it is negative. So, and negative is not always bad. It's just like, it's pessimistic. It's like, this isn't going to work. And it's really about us kind of starting to strip away things. And we're getting towards the autumn, which in autumn, things are no longer out of control. That's when things start to shift and we start to take control again. And it's really throughout Libra season where this kind of like open fear and wonder and, oh gosh, is this going to work? Is it not going to work? Those feelings start to go away because things change and things get more in control, especially with Pluto going back into Capricorn and Libra season coming in, which Libra season and Libra in general is a controlling sign. It is. People don't think of it that way, but it is. It's all about rules, regulations, laws, etc. So it is about control. So it kind of brings things back and all that structure comes back. So yeah, it'll be interesting for sure, Lisa. I think that the part of me is looking forward to it, but I'm also like, oh, like I feel like this autumn is going to be hella work for me, because I'm wondering if things may move forward in my romantic life with a certain somebody. as that hasn't died, which I'm a little surprised it hasn't. To be honest, I'm a little surprised, but it hasn't completely died. There's still some hope. And I'm just going to be like, okay, I'm going to see what happens. I'm just going to show up. Remember to, when it comes to Jupiter and Gemini, put your efforts out, put your stuff out there, like show up. With the Saturn square Jupiter, you got to show up. You got to be there. You have to be involved. You have to talk to people. This time can be a little difficult for introverts. It can be a little difficult for people who, yes, Libra is in October, but it can be a little difficult, but especially in Libra season, but you really, really have to. Virgo is like that last little bit of introversion where it's still okay, kind of. But if you're still quiet in Libra, you're going to suffer. Like you're going to start losing stuff. People will start cutting you off, or you'll start, things will become more solid during that time. So it's like, okay, this person isn't putting in the effort. We're going to fire him. It's like that. It's that kind of energy. Because really during that time, that structure comes back in and the economy isn't doing well either. So people are kind of short on time and money, and they're short on these things. So if you're not putting in the effort, they're going to pass you up for someone else. So you have to be present, visible, speaking, verbal, showing up, consistent, right? Saturn square Jupiter is hardworking, and we're going to be in this energy all the way until like July of next year. So it's kind of like a buckle up buttercup. But when it comes to the time when Jupiter's in Gemini, it's extroverted. It's an extroverted time. You have to talk. You have to speak up. It's better to say something and for it to be cringy, or for you to kind of sound like a dumbass. It's better to sound like a dumbass than to not say anything. Because if you don't say anything, with all the negativity around, people are going to assume the worst. So I think last year, if you were quiet, people assumed the best. It was a much more introverted year. When Jupiter was in Taurus, it was better to be quiet at times. It was better to be silent, because people would see you with a better light if you were quiet. This year, that's all gone, because people are generally more critical when Jupiter's in Gemini anyways. So if you don't say anything and you just kind of leave it quiet, people will really judge you for not saying anything. It's like really? That's kind of the energy it is. That's Jupiter in Gemini. It's like that. And so you're going to get criticized. Everybody's going to get criticized. I'm not surprised that I wouldn't be shocked if I got a lot of hate. My friend David, he just got hit with hate today by a fat activist. And I'm not surprised. So he has this influx of people coming to his channel and hating on him. And I'm just like, don't worry about it. It's because he's getting more prominent. He got 10,000 subscribers. He's starting to rise up in the ranks. And with success comes criticism during this time. People are not gracious. And I think for me, personally, it will probably have more to do with my weight loss, as that is so visible in public, and I'm still continuing my activism. So I suspect for me, this time period will be an extremely important time for my activism. And I think there's a lot of decisions to make, and I intend on making everything work out I can. If this romantic opportunity comes through, I'm going to take it. If YouTube as a career comes through as an opportunity, I'm going to take it. If the weight loss comes through, I'm going to take it. I'm trying to make everything happen, because I feel behind because of my last few years of being so sick. And if you use the Saturn square Jupiter energy correctly, you can really, really kind of go into hyperdrive and be very successful with it. But you have to keep going despite criticism. That's the biggest thing, is do not give up. And the second you falter, you will lose it. And that was already happening a little bit to me, where I feel like I wasn't saying enough to my crush, and he was starting to, I think he was starting to feel like I was moving on. That's just my supposition, I guess. And so I was like, ooh, I don't want that. So I started speaking up, even though I was like, I don't know what to say, because I feel like a dork. But I was like, I'm just going to be a dork, and I'm just going to say things because I don't want to lose this opportunity if I have it. I don't. So it's like I got to keep everything up. And that's kind of the hard part about this time, is it requires a bit of multitasking, because it's also YouTube. It's also friends, family, finances. Like, there's so many things to keep your mind on during Jupiter and Gemini. And it's like, we got a lot of shit to do. And if you don't do something, it will die, basically. Like, it will be gone. You can lose things really quickly in this time, including weight, which is good. So that part's good. But the point is, like, do not neglect anything. And it's a more extroverted time. Extroverts are more built for this because they're better at multitasking. Last year was really good for introverts. You could just focus on one thing the entire year and just be super hyper focused. And that was perfectly fine. It was very supported, actually, because it was so boring of a year. But this year, it's not like that. You need to be more of an extrovert. If you're very introverted, you can lose on a lot of things this year. Okay, my medicine is making it hard to be as verbal and extrovert as I used to be. Well, be careful about it, because you need to, not even really till October. I would say the equinox. Right as we go into Libra season, you need to start talking more. And really, it's not even October through December. It's really probably October through February. It's a long time. So it's a minute. So during that time, you're going to have to be really active. Yeah. After that, we go into the year of the snake. The year of the snake starts, I think, towards the end of January, going into February, or in that time frame as the Lunar New Year starts. The year of the snake is introverted. So yes, it can, Lisa, but it must be shared. So you can't write in private. You share your writing. That's what it is. You have to read it after you've written it. Well, you need to work on it, but otherwise you can lose some things. Yes, that would be perfect, Lisa. You can write the poetry, then read it in writer's group. That's fine. You don't have to talk to like 5 bajillion people, but you need to be expressing yourself during this time. It's very important. And I think that this time frame, we've had a very strange couple of years where we've had mega introvert year, which was last year. And to be honest, some of the years prior, because of COVID and all that, it really pushed people to be more introverted. But it was super introverted in 2023. Now in 2024, we're returning to equilibrium. So a lot of extroverts out in the world, they're kind of starting to come back out of the opposite of the closet. I guess so. They're coming back out of the closet. They're starting to do things. They're starting to say things more. And for those of us who are introverted, we have to work with this energy, even if it's challenging. And it has been challenging for me. Even my mom pointed out, she was like, oh, she's like, you don't ever really have a time when you're just sitting in silence, or like where you're alone anymore. She's like, I think you need like 1 or 2 days a week of just pure introversion. And to be honest, I don't disagree with her, but this is not the time. So I try very hard. I talk on the phone. I go on YouTube and talk. I film and I talk. I talk all the time, because I know that it's very important to do that, because I'm introverted, and if I'm not careful, I can just disappear into the ether, basically. It's like you can just vanish really fast. And so I've worked at it, and I've been doing stuff, but it's overwhelming sometimes. But it's like, no, I want everything. So if you want everything, then you're going to have to put effort in everything. And I want it, because I know I can use this time to catch up on life goals and things that I feel are behind. So if I'm very, very deliberate with my actions, I will be in a great position by July. And that's kind of what you can use this for. Otherwise, what's going to happen? So what if you're just like, I just want to be introverted. I just want to sit. I just want to like not do much. Then what's the outcome? So I agree with my favorite astrologer. He talked about these 3 levels of these squares. And the second level, if you are just introverted and you're like, I'm going to be introvert, screw what Alex is saying or screw what the astrologers are saying, then you're going to enter into a state throughout this year up until July where you're just thinking about things a lot. You're going to be extremely in your head. You're going to be sitting in silence very often in your head and thinking about different ideologies, belief systems, things that you believe about the world that maybe aren't true or are true or whatever. And you're going to be just sitting and sorting through all that, which means that when it's over, you're going to basically be in the same position. The worst outcome is to try to escape this time using drugs or alcohol, which could happen to a lot of people if they just don't want to think, they don't want to do anything, and they're just like, fuck this, I want to opt out. Then a lot of people will go towards addictions. And that could include EDs too. You know, as I've said, I've felt very called to relapse during this time. I'm not going to, but it's like the energy is there. The energy of just fuck it all. Like it doesn't, none of it matters anyways. Da, da, da. That's very much strong, but it's not true. I'm telling you guys now, I'm warning you now, next year will be totally different. Everything's going to come back together. And if you just sat on your ass and fucked around, you're going to regret it. That's all I can say. Because it's not going to continue like this. This weird 2024, oh, I don't know what's up and down anymore. I don't know. You're going to want to make sure that you have something in 2025, especially post-July, because you can soar really high. If you do this right, and you work very hard now, and you stay present, and you get criticism and you say, okay, criticize me, fine, I don't care. I'm going to keep going. You just keep getting that over and over again. You can be really, really far ahead by July, and then Jupiter goes into Cancer, and you can expand massively after that, and it'll go even farther. And then it's still really good with Jupiter and Leo too. It's really good. So I would suggest doing the work. Otherwise, you're going to sit and think a lot, which is neutral. It's fine. And then you'll have to try to expand more then in July. But I want to catch up. So that's what I'm doing. So I got the pushback on my channel. I did. And I'm like, screw it. I got the pushback on my wait list. I'm like, screw it. I'm continuing. So I'm doing it. Basically. But yeah, as far as spiritual growth, talk things out, do arguments, debate with people, talk with people, go places. You know, this is especially a platonic time. This isn't the most romantic year, as it's kind of negative, but there can be romantic connection. There always can be, but it's not as great. Whereas next year is really, really rosy and romantic, especially in the later half of the year. So, and that lasts a while. But for now, it's like, you know, it's not the most romantic. But if you have long-term context with somebody, so if it's somebody that you met a while back, or you've been talking to, or you've been this or that, especially since last year, it could still be a thing. But it's harder to meet somebody new at this time, especially with Pluto going into the late degrees of Capricorn. It's difficult. It doesn't mean it can't happen. It's just difficult. That's all. And you're going to have to put a lot of effort out. And that's fine. If you want to put tons of effort into that, go ahead. Be my guest. Like, I'm not shading anybody. I realized I have to put more effort into my romantic life too. So I'm going to. Because he's worth it, period. That's what I'm going to say. I don't want to say too much. Even though I probably should. I probably should just keep talking. But I'm like, I'm still Virgo right now. I feel introverted. Hate it. I'm just kidding. It's fine. I feel like every Virgo season, though, I get on live and I complain about Virgo season. I feel like kind of a Virgo hater. I'm sorry, you guys. It's apple juice. And just for proof, in case of speculation, it's apple juice. Okay. No, Pluto's going into Aqua to stay. Right now it's in Aqua. It will go into Capricorn again, which is awful. I hate it. It's a dark time when it's in Capricorn. It denotes division, money problems, right? Bad economy, wealth inequality, that kind of stuff is very Pluto and Capricorn. Social, political, religious unrest, right? It's a time when the elites are very oppressive. That's Pluto and Capricorn. We've been in it since 2008, so it's been a long time. It's not fun. We've all been in it for quite a while. But it is about to end for good, and we will never experience it again in our lifetime because Pluto's going to go into Aquarius for 20 years. So totally different vibe, but it's a generational time as well. So always remember that too. There are huge personal things going on during this time. There's a lot of personal stuff and generational shifts, passing of the baton from one generation to the next. That is all happening now. There's a lot of people getting married, considering getting married. There's a lot of people having kids, a new generation. Like in my family, a new generation was born this year. It's like all those changes are occurring with this Pluto shift. So yes, Lisa, for sure. Give me some wealth vibes, please. It's better next year, for sure. It's especially better in 2026. Next year is a year of recovery. 2026 is when it's good, like as far as the economy. Then the economy is good in 2026. When Saturn goes into Aries, it's a sign of a booming economy. And this did occur in the 90s, by the way. When Saturn's in Pisces, which was around 30 years ago, 28 to 30 years ago, it was a recession in the 90s. And it's not good for the economy when Saturn is in Pisces. It's bad now. But then it was followed by Saturn in Aries, which is like the late 90s when the economy was booming. And that's going to happen again. So it will happen. It will come back. But yeah, people love the 90s, but they always think of the late 90s. The early 90s were kind of tumultuous with a lot of, unrest and economic issues in the mid 90s. But then it got like really good after. And it was amazing at the end. So that's kind of where we're at. We're at the part where it's going to get good, basically, in 2026. But I think when Saturn's in Pisces, it kind of makes the economy worse because we're supposed to reflect on like what life is like without money, or like be less materialistic, more spiritual. It kind of pushes you more towards spiritual pursuits because the economy is bad, basically. And that's where we're at right now. So this time is really about like, what's your ultimate goals? What's your purpose in life, right? Like these are really big questions that people are figuring out. Which I know it can be kind of boring. It was really boring last year. I was dying. But this year I'm not bored, so I'm good. I can handle funkiness. I cannot handle boredom that bad. It was horrible last year. I was dying. But yeah, it will get better. So this is the dark time, and it's going to end. It's going to start getting better next year. That's when it starts to improve. And then in 2025, it recovers. I'm going to be right back. I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be back. I tried to mute you. It didn't let me. Oh my gosh.